watching the monkey.
Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Art of Being with the Act Matrix podcast. I'm your host, Kevin, and then
I am
at least on my screen down below me is
Phil.
And today we have Sharon Small who's going to talk. But first, Phil wants to talk.
Okay, so we're working on this. So we want to have a word from our sponsors because we want to let you know how we're able to do all this. And our sponsor is the Act Matrix Certification Program. And for those of you that don't know about it, it's really a way for us to build a community of like-minded folks to be a part of something and get the word out about the Act Matrix. For you, you receive professional certification, automatic street cred wherever you're at. And you do it basically, it's a performance-based type of learning where you're meeting with us pretty much the way we're talking today online. And then when you're ready, basically you show us your stuff. And then Kevin and I, you become certified. Now you can increase your standing in the community and really work to get that matrix out there in whatever way you like to present it. And we also offer different pathways right now. Kevin, do you want to speak to that at all? Or are we going to wait till the end? We have the basic certification.
We added sports flow methods certification because any listeners of this podcast will know that the matrix is used in Major League Baseball and on Olympic teams, high school, junior high teams, golf, tennis. It's used all around. So we added sports flow method to it. It's good. So that's what we did. We added that. And you also get membership in the mastermind. And so that sort of leads me to Sharon, because she's certified.
Yes.
and she's in the mastermind.
And I'm in the mastermind.
Okay. And she's going to talk to us today about her, one of her expertise.
Her art of being.
Her art of being was something. And I'll let Sharon tell you about herself and what she's talking about.
So the art of being clean. So I'm Sharon Small.
That's right.
I like it.
And I have a training company, the Clean Language Institute, and I work with a process called Clean Language, which is a way of asking questions that keep our assumptions and presuppositions out of our clients' material. And one thing that has been really attractive to me about the ACT Matrix is it coincides really well with a way that we do coding in the moment with our clients' material called the problem, remedy, outcome. And it's a little format that we look at and we listen to how people, what the kind of information they're giving us. Is it problematic? Is it a remedy, which is essentially moving away from a problem, or is it an outcome or even a resource, right? So when we think about the ACT matrix, the lower right-hand quadrant would be a resource. This is where we ask the question, what's important to you?
Okay.
Right? So instead of asking explicitly in Clean, we listen for the resourceful content. And then we track that as the facilitator.
You let it emerge.
So we're paying attention to that. What's important to you? Problematic material generally ends up in that lower left-hand quadrant. Those are those things that we're doing, and they're only problematic not because the thing itself is problematic, but it's problematic because it's keeping us from what's important to us, right? That's why it's problematic. So when we listen to our clients and they talk about things that sound problematic to us, we wait. And if we're not sure if it's a problem for the client, we'll actually ask, is that something that you want?
Yeah.
And if they say, no, it's not something that we want, we kind of track that in that lower left-hand corner, right? And then the upper right-hand corner, we might call that a remedy quadrant. So a remedy is moving away from something you don't want. So you're watching TV all the time, it's keeping you from time with your children who are important to you. And you remedy that by, limiting your hours, putting it on your schedule, for example. So remedies can be really useful, but often they're just a move away from a problem rather than towards what we want, which is that upper right-hand quadrant, like the outcome. Right? What do we really want to have happen? And that's that relationship with our children. So I have my handy dandy board.
She's doing like she's doing a Phil.
I was getting ready to pull it out and you beat me to it.
Hey,
Yeah,
come on, Phil. Hold yours up too. She's got a bit.
Wait a minute.
Here, because I got to do.
I don't know if it's too big for the screen.
No, I got to do this shtick, Phil.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hers is bigger than yours.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm being outdueled here.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist it. I
could make it tall, right? Taller and skinnier.
And I noticed, Sharon, that yours has grown since the first time that you did this.
It has grown.
That's what happens. You use this, you get bigger boards after a while.
I know. I've been so nutritioned by this pro-social community and, the encouragement that my board just keeps getting bigger and
bigger.
Growing and growing.
Oh, God. Oh, boy.
Back to being clean.
We be silly. Okay.
Right.
So let's see if I can do this here. Okay.
She's going to put it at,
yeah. Is that right?
Oh, there we go. That's better. That's a little more.
Now we got it.
Better. There we go.
So senses, right?
Yeah.
And mind. Yep. Okay. So the thing about our desired outcomes in clean language, we call them a desired outcome for a reason. They're not.
We forgot. Hold on. For our podcast people listening as you're driving down the road and you can't see what she's doing, she just pulled up a whiteboard, a small one that you can hold in your lap, and she's drawing on it. And she put senses at the top, mind at the bottom, of course, a line connected them, and there's a horizontal line. And now she's going to go through the quadrants.
So visually, I'm just going through the quadrants. So where I'm talking about now is that upper right-hand quadrant, the area that, we talk about like what we want, right?
Upper right. So she's in the upper right. What we want.
Upper right, what we want.
Dues.
And in clean language, our outcomes are a little different than how they're calibrated in matrix work, in that our outcomes don't have to be smart. We call them a desired outcome for a reason. And we work a lot in the realm of metaphor and the symbolic. So our outcomes are desired outcomes. What is it that person wants to have happen? Mm-hmm. And this can be a tangible asset. This can be a smart kind of goal or a smart kind of outcome, actionable, but it can also be something that is purely in the realm of inner experience. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's the
so in that case, it could be on the lower part of the matrix.
So yes, exactly. It could also be in that lower right-hand quadrant, the what's important to you. And this is where the PRO and this quadrant works so nicely, is the quadrant is really flexible. So the desired outcome, when it's internal, can be down in that lower right quadrant, which is also where we consider what we call a resource. So what's important to us is resourceful.
Right.
It's often what keeps us going. It helps us work hard. It's why some people get up in the morning and go to jobs that they don't like, because they know that they're doing something important for themselves, their family, taking care, right? It's so this quadrant, these upper right, and the upper right and the lower right can be either resource or desired outcome, depending on if the outcome is a tangible, kind of, in our senses, we can see, hear, touch, taste, smell it, right? Writing a paper, I want to get that paper written. But there's also a resource state that goes along with that. Okay. So, and then we've got that lever, so let's say the resource is, let's just say, what's something that one of you would like to have happen? Kevin, do you have an outcome or a desire?
Everybody knows my outcome. I'm trying to get everybody using the ACT matrix.
Yeah, right. Do that.
Okay, everybody using the ACT matrix. Okay.
I've been at it for 10 years. So.
Yeah. Okay. And so, and in ACT language, we would say, and what kind of stuff gets in the way, right?
Oh, the list is long.
Yeah. Okay, the list is long. So the difference between what we're doing with clean and the ACT is as I talk to Kevin about his desire for everybody to be using the ACT matrix, I will listen for things that are getting in the way, right? So now I'm in that lower left hand.
Yeah, and you're listening. You're not explicitly asking.
Yeah.
I'm listening. I'm not explicitly asking.
Right. So folks, so the difference, I mean, she's still doing the matrix. Yes. It's just with the matrix, it's sort of, it's raw in that you're just saying, well, who's important to you? And they respond. What shows up and gets in the way, and they respond. Another perfectly legitimate way to do this is simply sit and have a conversation with somebody. Yeah. And invariably, who and what's important to them shows up in the conversation. Yeah. The stuff that's showing up and getting in the way shows up in the conversation. Yeah. And then you can sort it and put it.
And we might call that coding in the moment. We're coding the information that the client is giving us within this matrix. Yeah. And then we have specific questions. So when problematic material comes up.
Oh, now the questions come. Oh.
Yeah. So when we hear a problematic statement, we simply ask, and when problem, what would you like to have happen? And we help bring their attention either back to this lower right hand, what's important to them, or even to this upper right hand, their desired outcome. Right? When that problem, what would you like to have happen? Because what's gonna happen is these remedies, what we call remedies, are gonna show up, right?
Yeah.
They are.
Oh, yeah.
They are. So we're also coding for those.
Myself.
I'm familiar with them. Yeah.
We're listening for remedies. And you know how we talk about things being functional, right? We want things to be functional. We want things to work. And sometimes a remedy is just what's needed. Sometimes a remedy works and it's everything that you need. Yep. But sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it just keeps us, what do we call that? There's that loop, right? Where you just end up looping over on this left-hand side.
It's called a stuck loop. Yeah. It's a real fancy name.
So, right, the stuck loop. Okay. Yeah. So one way that we look and we begin to code whether this is a stuck loop or not is when somebody gives us a remedy, which we class as a statement where they're moving away from a problem. They're not moving towards a resource. They're not moving towards an outcome. They're moving away from a problem, right? Yep. So it will have a desire word in there, but it will also have a away from. I want to stop smoking. Yeah. Is a remedy.
Away from smoking, okay. Right? Yeah.
So I want to stop smoking is a remedy. It's a perfectly legitimate remedy. Oh, yeah. But the question we ask is, when you stop smoking, then what happens?
Right.
Whoa.
And that question, when you stop smoking, then what happens?
What's that going to help you do?
Puts that person in a place where they can begin thinking about, either this resource or this outcome, right?
Yep. What it's going to look like when I'm done smoking.
Yeah. Yeah. So this has been how I've used this ACT matrix in teaching clean language, and the problem remedy outcome model is this has been very useful in new facilitators being able to just create this matrix and look at where is the information that the client is giving them, where does this belong, and that helps them know what question to ask. Because when it's problematic, we ask, what would you like to have happen? When it's a remedy, we say, and when we change the remedy to as if it's already happened. Yeah. Like when you stop smoking.
When you've done this.
Then
you've done this.
Yeah.
Right.
And the thing about this problem remedy outcome and the same with this matrix is, that people continue to move around the loop. Yeah. Right. And as they become more flexible, as they get to know more about what they want and what's important to them, things begin to change. Even what they want can change.
Yes.
Who is important to them can change as they learn more.
They add, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's how I've been using it with this problem remedy outcome frame.
That's cool. I want to say I'll note something that comes up. It's a little bit technical, but I'm going to say it anyway. She talked about the function of behaviors. What's the purpose of what you're doing? So, I'm going to go veg out, eat popcorn, and watch Netflix. Okay. That's a remedy, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a remedy for, stress. Stress is showing up or something like that. And you look at the function of it, and sometimes just what's needed. That's just what you need to be doing. Absolutely. But we all know if you do that 24/7, 365 days a year, might not work so well. So what I'm saying in all this is what Sharon doing with clean language is also based on the workability model, which is called
workability. That's it. Yeah. The workability.
It's the workability model. So things aren't right and wrong. It's just, well, do they work for where you want to go in life?
They're going to get you where you want to go.
Because clients might have all sorts of things that sound problematic to us.
Yeah.
But they don't care.
It's
it's not a problem for them.
Right.
And it's not our job to solve things that aren't problematic to them.
Yeah.
Right. And that's very workability model.
Yeah.
That's very much so, which is strange to some people's ears. They're like, oh no, you've heard of something that needs to be fixed. You better fix it.
In there.
Well, no.
I call it the bright and shiny fix it. There's something that I can help them fix.
Right. And
Yummy.
Yeah.
This isn't that. No. It's like if they don't see it as something that needs fixing, well, then it doesn't need fixing.
Yep.
What you're concerned with, and I'm sure it's part of this is sort of the question, where do you want to go?
Which is desired outcome, right? They're back to that.
Desired outcome.
Exactly. It's like an example might be somebody comes to do some professional development and they want to be better at their job.
Yeah.
And what comes out is they have a boss that micromanages them and yells at them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really?
And when you have a boss, you want to be better at your job, and you have a boss that, right? So we're talking about what they want, right?
Yep.
That upper right-hand quadrant, and then you've got your lower right hand.
Yep.
And actually, even the lower right-hand quadrant, the job is important to them.
Right.
Yeah. And then they have a yelling, micromanaging boss.
Yeah. Right.
So we don't want to determine whether the boss is really micromanaging or not. That's a person's perfectly legitimate perception.
Exactly, their perception.
How we deal with that is we say, and when your boss is micromanaging and yelling at you, what would you like to have happen?
There you go.
Right?
There you go.
And what you often hear is, well, I want them to stop micromanaging me.
Yeah.
Well, in real life, the chance of the boss stopping micromanaging is pretty slim, right? Yeah. So we're also looking at where, and this is similar to that act, where with the PRO model, we're also looking at what is in their purview of agency. Where is their ability to make a choice, a change, a difference, whether it's in perception or physicality and then we say, when they say, well, I want them to stop micromanaging you. You say, oh, and when they stop micromanaging you, we're in the upper left-hand quadrant, then what happens? Mm-hmm. Oh, then I'm able to concentrate on my work. And then we begin to attend to the concentrate as a resource.
Yeah.
So back to that lower right-hand quadrant, the concentrate is something important to them. And they'll find tangible ways in that upper right-hand quadrant to do that concentrate. And that's what we continue to develop with other clean questions. So we're doing the same thing. We're coding in the moment, but we're simply not doing it necessarily in the graph explicitly. Yeah.
But it's cool.
Yeah, and you don't have to.
Very fun.
Yeah.
No. Very flexible.
Yeah, it's the word. That's it. Very flexible.
Psychological flexibility. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have we done any podcasts on that?
Not explicitly, Kevin. We haven't really talked about
it. We have a Facebook page, or I have one I named years ago. I called it We Effing Love, EFFING.
Yeah.
Clean. There's clean language in another.
There you go.
Exactly.
We effing love psychological flexibility. I only mentioned it because it's I get 4 or 5 people signing up for it every day. It's funny as heck. People come to that. So there's some kind of draw to the psychological flexibility. So when you hear about it, you go, yeah, I think I'd like that.
What is that? Tell me more about this psychological flexibility stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And now what Sharon just talked about is increasing psychological flexibility.
Yeah, there's the noticing. So what we're essentially helping people to learn to do, that's also similar to the ACT, although I might use different terms to express it, is we're helping them to self-model, which is part of that noticing in the center. Mm-hmm. There's the external world. You guys were talking about the amygdala, there's that that embodied response. And then there's the noticing. And the more we notice and know our own patterns and how we do our wanting, how we do our desired states, how we do our loving, the more we can begin to make those choices in the moment that move us around, around out of those left quadrants into the right quadrants in some way that is functional, achievable,
workable, right?
And workable.
Keeps the flow going.
And all of that, and it's okay. I'll go a little bit technical. The whole enterprise really is based on the notion that language gets you stuck. Okay, that we humans were blessed and cursed with language, and the curse part of it is it can really get you stuck. And if you're saying, I have a horrible micromanaging boss and there's absolutely nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's, I just gave you a very stuck statement.
So here's what we'd say. And you have a horrible micromanaging boss and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
And when you have a horrible micromanaging boss and there's nothing you can do about it, what would you like to have happen?
There you go. I gave you a good setup, didn't I?
Yeah. So we continue to move them towards this outcome.
Right. And notice that from a scientific point of view, your words added flexibility, psychological flexibility to the person's language.
Yeah.
You weren't trying to challenge their language or saying, a lot of people would say, you know what, you just need to stop using language like that. That's just not helping you.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Right. And no, that's out in the literature.
That's
allergic
reaction. You just
there's lots of things. Notice Sharon didn't do that.
Yeah.
She didn't do that at all. She just added flexibility to the language.
Right.
Yeah. So you might say these are both additive models and that we're not trying to take anything away from the client at all. Yeah. We take exactly what they've given us and we work with that and we just add either a question or ask for an insight.
Yeah. And I'm also noticing, Sharon, that what you're doing very much like what we do, it's all the same, is you're really teaching people a process. And then you yourself, like when Kevin asked you, when he did that, you are staying in the process.
Boom, went off to your process.
Yeah.
Well, right.
And the act has been so brilliant because being able to use these quadrants in introducing the problem remedy outcome and even, in the resource, I add the resource in there in that lower right-hand quadrant,
right.
They've been able to track it, but the act also gives them a language that's much more common. Hey, what kind of stuff is getting in the way?
Right.
Now, technically, when we're facilitating, we're doing our best to not introduce our own metaphors.
Yeah.
So, and that's why we code in the moment and just
that's why you
do it
listen
through a
to
listening state.
You listen for their
metaphors,
right?
But you take this home and it becomes very natural to use all the terms and the expressions. This is how I do it when I work the matrix on my own. I do it the way I learned here.
Yeah.
I'm already got the problem remedy outcome in my head. I kind of, I don't have to do that explicitly with myself, but I work it the way that you guys have taught me. What kind of stuff gets in the way? What are you doing? I just,
Well, part of your example is how somebody, Sharon's a card carrying expert in this clean language. And then along comes and somehow she gets exposed to the matrix and goes, well, that's cool. And starts hanging around with us, the riffraff over here. And here's this language going, and the matrix language. And so it's very simple. We've used it with down to pre-K folks. So
very, very simple, easy to understand, easy to introduce. And probably the best use of a quadrant that I've ever seen. And part of that is because of the, it's like the way that it has been, it's the flexibility, isn't it? It's like you've got your five senses, we work with the sensory, we work with the mental, we have the away from, we have the towards, and then the noticing or the self-modeling in the middle.
And that's what you're doing, seeing things from the big picture, seeing things from a more flexible picture.
Yeah. So it's been super useful and personally and professionally.
So where I was going with that is it's amazing how people like Sharon can take what they already know and stitch it in, weave it into the matrix, and then use it. And that's what it's there for.
Yeah.
Which goes to another question people ask, well, do I have to do it exactly the way you guys teach it? That would be a profound no. No. But it's a great place to start. The senses, mind, toward, away. It's nice. I'll say yesterday, Phil and I had the weird thing in 2 different conversations separated by a couple of hours.
Yeah.
People called it a window.
Yes.
The
4 panes. 4 panes. Yeah.
4 panes of a window. Well, that's cool. This was really cool because it was really 2 people and
independent of each other.
I'd really want to know. I'd want to know. And when it's a window, where are you?
Yeah, there
in
you
relationship
go.
to that window, right? Are they on that side or are they on this side?
Yeah.
The metaphor is cool. It's a cool, flexible, transparent metaphor. Let's put it that way. Yes. It's quite interesting to think of it as a window. So something we'll play with later on. Well, this is great. This has been great. And so all of you on the podcast, don't forget to check out the certification, which is just go to the actmatrixacademy.com.
Yeah.
And literally, if you Google the Act Matrix Academy, you'll find it. Lots of people do. And get on the email list and do that. When you get to do that, you become part of the mastermind. You get to talk with people like Sharon. She's part of you've been with the mastermind forever.
Right from the beginning?
Right from the beginning. Oh, no, you were early on in the mastermind.
Charter member.
Right. So, definitely a charter
member. It's been brilliant. I was saying to Kevin before you got here, Phil, that I love the time I spend with this community because I always feel so much more competent and just better about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. It's been a real asset to me. It's like I work out of my home. I'm on my own most of the time. Right. And I think like a lot of us,
that's where we're all at home.
That's what we're bringing us together, right? We're bringing people together.
It's been really super.
Yeah. Nice.
And for those of you that are interested in the problem remedy outcome model, if you just Google problem remedy outcome and clean language, there should be some articles that pop up. They won't necessarily be by me. But Penny Tompkins, James Lawley, and I can send Kevin a link perhaps that he can post with this.
Well, you have a website, right?
I have a website. I do.
Okay, if they go to the actmatrixacademy.com and then down the page, it has the certified Act Matrix trainers.
Scroll down and Sharon will be.
Click on you,
I'll be on there by tomorrow morning, right?
She gives us her
tomorrow morning. No, we all discovered something. we had failed to put Sharon on the page. Like, whoops. So we're going to fix that. and then you can click on her website. Yeah. And then you can find out all this cool stuff.
Right. Check out her cool stuff.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, and we'll be back. We'll do more. I am simply going to, we'll say bye. I'll end the recording, but the 3 of us will stay behind.
But before we do, she has to name it, Kevin. She has to name the podcast.
Oh, that's right. This is called Name the Podcast.
Our new tradition is that the podcast guest gets to name the podcast.
Oh,
there they are. There's my little sticky notes right there. I'm at the ready for you to name.
Give it any name you want. Oh, yeah, right.
Believe me, it has something to do with the art of being with the Act Matrix.
Let's call it going PRO with the Act Matrix.
Oh, all right.
Pro. Problem, remedy, outcome.
Yeah.
That's at least that's short.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I got it.
So it is written, so it shall be done.
Okay.
And we all have these 27-inch iMacs, which has this great little area right below the screen that you can put these sticky notes on.
Oh, I know. Yes, that's right.
I've got them all along the bottom of my head.
You have a 27-inch or two,
the one that never goes, you know what?
Oh, yeah, me too.
Now we're just having fun, folks, but have fun. Yeah, she's got one. It's funny. We all talk in and use these 27-inch iMacs. it's got that. But a long time ago, Phil was talking along, and somehow he said this statement. He said, "We're going for a constant state of ecstatic wonder."
That's
Oh,
right.
I like that. Yeah. That's a great desired outcome. Dang.
So I put it down, and I've never taken it off. I get a chuckle out of that every time. Well, think of it. If you really could pull off being in a constant state of ecstatic wonder, I mean, I guess it'd be cool, but I ain't got there yet.
I feel exhausted just thinking about
it.
The problem with that is you wouldn't get anything else done. You'd be in that'd be it.
Yeah. So that's a great example of a desired outcome. We know that constant isn't necessarily achievable, but the client gets to find out exactly how much constant they can have.
Well, how much of it you can do. It's nice to hit it every once in a while.
You can dip your toe in and every once in a while.
Definitely good to hit it every once in a while. So now I really will end the record.
Yeah. Okay.
But you'll stay here, Sharon.
Bye,
folks.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
No, you stay here.